Okay, so we'll do a take two on the voiceover demo. So this is a video I captured off my phone, and so we're doing the screen recording right now. So now if I play this, okay, we're looking good. So you want to go to Settings, and then go down to General, and then choose Accessibility. So then voiceover, and then you just tap once to turn it on.
Voiceover on. Settings. Accessibility. Back button.
So you can see that whatever I've tapped on gets selected. It has that selection rectangle around it, and then it will read back what it sees. So if it sees any kind of text, any kind of label, any kind of title, it will read that back. And then if there's a control, it will tell you if there's a control, it will give you what's called the trait. And so is it going to be a button, a slider, or what have you, and then it will give you the value or the state of that control. So if I back that up.
Accessibility. Back button.
So it's saying it's traits a back button.
Double tap to toggle setting.
Now it's not just controls.
Voiceover speaks items on the screen. Double tap to activate the selected item. Voiceover practice button.
Okay, so the trait was a button. So now I'll go down to the slider.
Speaking rate 55%. Adjustable.
It gives the value that
Swipe up or down with one finger to adjust the value. Speak hints on. Double tap to toggle setting.
Gives it state.
Voiceover on. Double tap to toggle setting.
So that's what I'll do.
Voiceover off.
Just like that. Okay.
So it doesn't just read the entire screen to you. You were tapping parts of that
exactly,
screen in order to
exactly.
get...
So whatever I tapped got selected, and then it read it back. So this isn't the best demo, but this is what we use at Nordstrom. And so we're taking advantage of the accessibility elements that are here, and then we can read the entire screen, and then within our script we can say, like, tap a specific, like one of the buttons there is your privacy right, so we could choose to tap that. So go ahead and show that off to you. So this is just a script that's running as part of our automation. So here we're filling out the login screen, and it's actually a type command that's being run, and so then it's typing the username and password, and then it should tap the sign-in button, and then it'll log it in, and then it's running that script. So that's the technical advantages of using accessibility. So hopefully I can get back to PowerPoint. Okay. So really what I've been describing about VoiceOver scrolls over and through and reads accessibility elements, and this is coming from the UI accessibility informal protocol, and really for the most part, 95, even 90% of the time, you don't need to do anything specifically with the accessibility class or the accessibility protocol that I've called out here, because every UI view and every subclass of UI view has accessibility properties associated with it. And for the most part, you don't even need to mess with those. So if you've got a label, the VoiceOver is going to read back the text that you have within the label. It's when you want to add extra information, if you want to, so if you have a label that says first name, you might enhance that accessibility label to say, like first name for login, or first name for password, or first name for a new account, or something like that. By setting the accessibility label, you can add that extra information. Now, the other points that I've called out here are for when you have that case, and I would say it's fair to call it a corner case, that you're not working with a subclass of UI view. So if you're working with something basic, something very low level like a CG rec, something custom like that you need to add accessibility to, that's when you're going to create accessibility containers and when you're going to create custom accessibility elements. It does not, no. No, it's a great question. So you don't need internet connection. It looks at what the values are for what it has selected and then read that back.
If you wanted to provide an MP3 for an image to describe like what's on the image, can you do that? Is there like
Not that I know of. As far as I know, like you can definitely add extra accessibility information to an image, and that image will be selected, and it will. You really wouldn't want to have an MP3 because it'll read back the string. So you could have, you could add like a paragraph worth of verbiage, and that's fine. That's just text and strings you're working with, and then it would be read back. Okay. So we've actually already talked about this. Oh yeah, so I wanted to call out the specifics here. What will VoiceOver read? We have an accessibility label, so that's going to be what identifies the element, like message. Value, and we saw that with the slider, it'll read back the current value of what's selected, and 55%. A hint is another accessibility property that you can add that will just give more information to the user. Like if they've got a text field selected, you can add a hint to that says, edit your message here, or enter your password here, something like that. And then the trait is what the thing is, and we heard that in the demo, if it's a button or static text or a shape, what have you. Okay. Now that focus screen, it's a frame, it's a CG rec, and what it's doing is it's looking at the screen coordinates of what you've got selected, and that's what it's going to draw around. Like I mentioned, to actually do something, an activation point is going to be on the double tap, and you should group accessibility children together. And the reason being is if you've got any kind of hierarchy that needs to happen, you'll want to set that up as well. So if you've got, like, if you have, trying to think something like a text editor, you would have it select like the outer window, and then maybe like a toolbar if you have that, and then go down into the document, and then another hierarchy would be like you would select a paragraph within the document, or then go to individual characters if you need to. Okay. So any questions on that? So what I want to do now is show my last video. So earlier this evening we talked about localization. We saw that in action with the spelled out property for the number formatter. So now we've got, we're talking about VoiceOver, and what's our suspicion? Should VoiceOver be localized as well? That's right. So hopefully you can notice that for this screen capture, I've got it set to Spanish, and then I'll go ahead and play that. Go to VoiceOver, turn it on.
VoiceOver activado. Configuración. Accesibilidad. Botón atrás. VoiceOver. Activado. Toque 2 veces para cambiar la configuración. VoiceOver dice en voz alta los elementos de la pantalla.
I probably turn it
Velocidad de habla.
there.
55%. Ajustable. Desplácese hacia arriba o abajo con un dedo para ajustar el valor.
So let me pull up my other project here. So this is just a really simple project. I just have a label and a text field and then a button. So we can test what our accessibility is set up, what our accessibility values are from the simulator. So I'll go ahead and launch this. And then I want to go to the system settings and change the language back. One thing I want you to note, I've got the app running and I'm changing the language and it should crash, yes. Okay, so now relaunch it. Go to accessibility, turn on the accessibility inspector, and so that gives us this window here. Now, when the window is expanded like this, then the voiceover, the selection rectangle, is enabled. So if I want to get anywhere, it's going to take a double tap to do it. If I collapse this, then it's just a single tap. So I'll switch back to my project. And then we can look at these elements here. So here, I've got a button. That's what its trait is. The frame isn't too terribly important or interesting. And then it has the label title. So that's what would be read back by VoiceOver. And then that is also the identifier that would be used in the UI automation.
How do you get the accessibility inspector on your?
You don't, it's simulator only.
Oh, okay.
So on your device, you would use VoiceOver to get this kind of information.
Okay.
So here I have a label, and its trait is static text. And then on this one, this is a text field, and we're not getting any information for free. So what we want to do is set up an accessibility label and a hint for what this is used for. So when our users are using it, they'll know that, oh, it's a text field I've got selected, and this is for entering in my name. And I've already set up outlets to these, and so it's just a matter of adding that property and nothing more to it than that. And it just takes a string and will be explicit. And we'll also add an accessibility hint. Something clever like that, something that just makes sense is what you want to include. Now when we run it, expand it, so we've got that information there. Now the accessibility inspector does not list out the hint, but if we were to build this to device, that's what the VoiceOver would read back. That's what it would report.
So we can set that property in a face builder as well.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely, it's available there. So I'm on the storyboard. Now choose the text field, and I have to hunt for it, but you can see that here as well. So absolutely, you can set that in Interface Builder or programmatically.
So once we set up some value over there, we create those keys in language, the strings file.
Yep, because you caught me. I typed in a hard-coded string, and you never want to do that. So yeah, and that's exactly what it is. You would just want to wrap this in the in its localized string macro, just like we did with the localization. And that's this just gives us more capability, more flexibility, allows us to localize our accessibility strings, and it doesn't affect the code or the behavior at all.
I'm kind of impressed by the ability to read in all the languages that Apple supports.
Mhm.
Seems like that's some non-trivial logic. How much space does that take on the device?
I don't. It's part. I mean, it's built in the OS. I would imagine they're doing a lot of compression, and so they've got it narrowed down so it doesn't take up, because I've lost it. Oh yeah. So I mean, extremely resource limited on it. So yeah, and it's not. As far as voiceover, I think I want to say it's only about 8 languages that it'll do. It's not the entire list that's available. So,
wow.
yeah.
Especially reading some of the ideogram languages.
Right, exactly.
What is accessibility ID?
Accessibility ID is something that it's specific for, actually, it's really taken advantage with UI automation. So if you set up an accessibility label, that's going to be customer facing. That's what they're going to see. So if you've got a form that on that form you've got billing address and shipping address, you're going to have duplicate fields. So one way you could do it is say, first name shipping address or first name billing address. But would that be the best experience for the customer or not? Whereas when you're doing UI automation, you want those to be very unique. And you can do that by setting up an accessibility ID. And that's something that's not going to be available to the customer, and it's something that you can reference within your automation tools. So the short answer to your question is it's basically another type of accessibility label that's not visible that's not customer facing. And for the most part, it's used for UI automation.
But this is still for the developer.
Yes, it's for the developer. Yeah.
So there's no default value or generate value for ID. We should specify certain value if we want. Right?
Exactly. It's a custom property to set up, and so we would give it the value. It's not auto-generated or anything like that. Yeah.
Is there a way to use the accessibility mode to input data? Text fields,
No. As far as the UI automation goes, that's really dependent on the framework, how they're going to enter data into that. And for the most part, it's going to be coming off of some sort of keystroke command to do that. There's other ways to set the value in it, but that's framework dependent, and it doesn't use any kind of accessibility properties.
The assumption is that they can still use a keyboard or see at the resolution on which the keyboard is available.
Right, right. So,
If you made your labels big enough, then why would they need?
so for the most part, and when users that are very talented at using VoiceOver, they don't do what I did, which is like tap, tap, tap. They'll slide their thumb or what have you around and then just list for what was selected, because it's wherever your thumb is, that's going to be selected. And so I would imagine they would select, I could see them selecting a text field and then know from experience that the keyboard would come up and then just slide down to that part of the device and then just use like even a swipe command, or just listen for if K or N came up, and then double tap that.
Or you can even use voice recognition.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Which does require the internet.
Yeah, passwords would be a pain.
Oh.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, you'd want to have headphones in so no one else could hear that. The PASSWORD. That's all I wanted to cover tonight. Any other questions? If not, I have a question for you. So for your homework assignments, and I will post it later, but what I want you to do is localize a hard-coded string. I know one of the things I asked Boris to do is have you include a date in your app. So I want you to use a date formatter to make that more flexible. And then as I demoed, make the call to NS Locale class and include the beginning and ending quotation marks.
So are we building on the Boris app?
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. So use that existing project, then just add a tag for week 8, and that's what I'll look at. Now, the one thing I wasn't sure is, did he include a hard-coded string?
Yeah, the low button.
Okay. The button. Okay. All right. That'll work. Will that work?
Go.
Does it have a custom title to it on the button?
Go.
It
You
says
don't have to.
go.
You don't have to.
Just use the
Okay.
keyboard.
So, okay. How hard would it be for you to include a hard-coded string in your app? Because I wasn't sure how it's set up.
Just add a row to the chat. Log, pre-populate one row.
So I just want you, I want you to have a hard-coded string that you'll localize, that you'll go through those steps and add the strings file. And then just include another language besides English, and that's all I'll be looking for.
Now, when Boris gave us our assignment, he gave us exactly 1 week, whereas
Okay.
before it had been a week and then to the next Saturday, like for every other assignment.
Okay. So we'll do that to the next Saturday. Yeah, that works fine.
You mentioned earlier about if you're using a custom view,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to put it in that container.
It's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's not a view at all. Because anytime you're using UI view, you get this for free. So it's going to be something even more basic than that. And this is really something you'd probably do in like iOS 4 or maybe 5. So you'd be working with, basic elements like a CG rec, something that simple. So something that you would programmatically create. This would be something you wouldn't create from Interface Builder. It would be through code. Oh, and that reminds me, So for the most part, we're working with subclasses of UI view, and then that will give us our accessibility elements for free. So really, why do we need to mess around with setting these and changing these. And I gave you an example there. If you want to add customization, add more information. But a lot of times you'll want to turn accessibility off. Like, for example, if you've got a view with some subviews and maybe even a subview off of that. So if we're like 3 layers deep and you just want the topmost layer to grab the tap, to grab the accessibility, then for its parent views, you'd want to disable accessibility. And I think again, I'm right in the razor's edge here, demoing live. Actually, so we could set that to false. I think there's an enable. I'm not sure. So apologies, I don't have a demo for you, but I do know that's one of the reasons why, that's one of the main reasons why you want to customize your accessibility. It's if you don't want something identified, you don't want the parent view identified, but you want the child view identified. And typically that comes up because of automation. It's just like it finds this view, but it can't find its child view. So it's like it grabs the parent view and then stops there. It's just like, no, that's not what I want you to tap. Okay, anything else? All right, well, thank you for your time, your attention, and thank you for your tolerance on our musical chair instructors for this quarter. I just realized I'm not sure what my UW email is.
Could we just post to the forum?
You can post to the forum, yes. That's what I want to do. Thank you. So yeah, if you have any questions, post to the forum and I'll look for that. Okay? All right.
This project will be coming today.
Probably tomorrow. I'll get it up tomorrow. Yeah. But this is the basic idea. So.
The same repository.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you and good night.